They were all found in beds. 4 victims on 2 separate levels, all in their beds. How? Hey everyone, it's Lucky with Unfiltered Lucky. And today I want to talk a little bit about a detail that I believe is rather important in the Idaho 4 case. Now, law enforcement confirmed, along with the coroner, Kathy Mabbitt, that all 4 victims were found in 2 beds on 2 separate levels. Ethan and Xana in their bed, and I say their bed because I've stated before that I believe that Ethan was living at the house, and I still believe that. Xana's dad had stated in an interview that this was Xana's first experience living with her boyfriend. I think that Xana's dad would know. I think that the reason that Bethany wanted to make it very clear in her statement that Ethan was just Xana's guest, staying over for the evening, is because of a few reasons. I think that for one reason, Ethan's parents were probably paying a lot of money for Ethan to live at the fraternity house. So Ethan's parents probably didn't know that he was staying at the King Roadhouse. Also, I believe that Bethany didn't want to say anything about Ethan living at the house because it would have definitely been a violation of their lease. There were 6 people on the lease at the King Roadhouse, and Ethan wasn't one of those people. So Ethan and Xana in one bed on the 2nd level, in one bedroom, and Maddie and Kaylee on the 3rd level in one bed in Maddie's bedroom. Now, law enforcement believes that these crimes began on the 3rd level in Maddie's bedroom, and that this crime on the 3rd level was contained in that bedroom. Now, we also know that Kaylee woke up and discovered the attacker. She also had defensive wounds. So she must have woken up and seen the attacker while she was laying alongside Maddie in her bedroom. And law enforcement believes that Maddie was the very first victim. I do think that it's possible that an attacker could sneak up to the 3rd level to Maddie's bedroom, because even if the roommates on the 2nd level heard someone going up those stairs, they may have just thought it was somebody who knew Maddie and Kaylee and didn't even think twice about it. You know, this is a house that is described as having a lot of traffic, and with 6 roommates living in this house, they probably had all sorts of people over at all different times, day and night. So I think that it's very possible that the intruder could have gotten up to the 3rd floor relatively easily. Even easier if the sliding glass door was unlocked. Or as we've talked about before, maybe that lock was broken on that sliding glass door. Now, what about the bar stools that were placed inside the track of that sliding glass door? Did the intruder place those bar stools there in order to block that exit? It doesn't seem likely. It doesn't seem like, the intruder would have been blocking that exit to the sliding glass door with those bar stools, and maybe prevented anybody from getting out of that back door. But it would have also prevented them from getting out of that back door easily. So they would actually be blocking an easy exit for themselves. And that would leave them the only easy exit left, which would be the front door, which going through the front door would take you right out into the open. So when were those bar stools placed inside that sliding glass door? And why were those bar stools placed inside the door? I've heard people say that they believe that law enforcement placed those bar stools in the door in order to barricade it because they had taken the locking mechanism out of that slider. But that doesn't really make sense, because why would law enforcement really need to do that? The King Roadhouse was under constant surveillance by law enforcement after they arrived at the house close to noon on the day of the crimes. So why would they need to barricade that back door? Okay, let's get back to the intruder on the 3rd floor, which law enforcement believes that this is where it all started. So the attacker goes into Maddie's bedroom and takes her life first. Now, we don't know whether Maddie and Kaylee were asleep or if they were awake. Now, allegedly, Kaylee sees what is happening to Maddie, who is laying right next to her, and she begins to fight this attacker. Now, Kaylee, although she's fighting the attacker, she's trapped in this small bed. So it does appear that Maddie and Kaylee were both trapped in this bedroom. And I believe that this is a very possible scenario. But what about all of the noise? There would have been screaming and yelling and furniture moving around. Kaylee was fighting for her life. This would have been loud and would have made a lot of noise. So after the attacker leaves Maddie's bedroom and walks down the stairs to the 2nd level, he just sneaks up on Xana and Ethan. How were Ethan and Xana still in their bed? How was there no movement or anyone trying to flee the house? I mean, did the attacker just guess right and, guess that the roommates on the lower levels didn't hear anything that was going on upstairs? It just doesn't make any sense that they were all still in their bed. How did this attacker sneak up on Xana and Ethan while they were still in bed after making all that noise on the 3rd level? So how did the roommates on the lower levels not hear everything that was going on above them? Through the walls, maybe through the vents? I mean, if a home security camera that was 50 feet away from the King Roadhouse heard audio and picked up audio, it seems as though the noise inside that house would have been really loud. How did that go unheard by 4 other roommates and a dog? All 4 victims' lives were taken while they were still in bed. So nobody got out of bed? It just seems strange that Kaylee saw what was happening to Maddie and Xana saw what was happening to Ethan. But yet they were all still in their beds. So nobody got out of bed and was moving around or running away or trying to get away from this attacker. It just seems so strange that all 4 of them were still laying in their beds while one perpetrator took all of their lives with a knife. So it took some time. Is it possible that the victims were moved and that the crime scene was staged? This would be obvious to investigators to be able to tell if these victims' bodies had been moved into these beds. unless they were moved into their beds and then the areas which would indicate where their lives were taken in the house were cleaned up. Maybe for like 8 hours. I just don't see how one person runs through this house taking lives and nobody gets out of bed. That just seems very strange. This should have been a very chaotic scene. You know, there should have been people moving around. This would have been very chaotic. But it's not described that way. It's basically described as 6 people just peacefully laying in their beds while their roommates' lives are brutally being taken with a knife. Does that make sense? Does it make sense that one hell of a battle was going on inside this house and nobody got out of bed? You know, another reason that these victims could have been moved to these beds is because a mattress will soak up a lot of fluid. So it would minimize the mess. But these crimes were described as messy. This crime scene was described as messy. So were these crimes only contained in these 2 bedrooms of this house? How does the intruder keep from leaving footprints all around this house? Because we know that there was a latent footprint found in front of Dylan's door that appeared to be cleaned up. So it seems as though the crime scene would have been rather messy and that this intruder would have definitely left footprints around this house. I've just never understood how 4 people's lives could be taken in this house with a knife and they were all still in bed. It just doesn't make sense. Tell me what you think. Do you think that these victims were moved into these beds and that this crime scene was possibly cleaned up? Was this crime scene staged? It's just very odd to me that these 4 victims were just found in their beds and that nobody was moving around. You know, it doesn't appear to be a very chaotic scene. It appears that these victims were just waiting in their beds. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense how one individual gets to 4 people while they're still in their beds with a knife. It's odd. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe that all 4 of these victims were just laying in bed and that this attacker went from victim to victim and just took their lives while they were laying in bed? Let me know what you think. If you liked my video today, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time.